Mike Rowe was once America's favorite everyman, crawling through sewers and cleaning septic tanks for our entertainment. Dirty jobs made him a household name, turning a simple concept into television gold. But when the cameras stopped rolling in 2012, something changed. The man who once united viewers around honest work became one of the most polarizing figures on television. Legal battles erupted, political controversies exploded, and Hollywood dreams crumbled. This is the untold story of how Mike Rowe went from beloved TV host to lightning rod for controversy. What really happened to the king of dirty jobs? After 8 wildly successful seasons, Dirty Jobs vanished from Discovery Channel in 2012, leaving fans wondering what went wrong. The show had consistently delivered solid ratings, earned Emmy nominations, and turned Mike Rowe into a cultural icon. Yet behind the scenes, tensions were brewing that would change everything. Discovery executives claimed the show had simply run its course, but insiders painted a different picture. Rising production costs, insurance nightmares from dangerous job sites, and creative differences between Rowe and network brass created a perfect storm. The final straw came when Rowe pushed for more creative control, demanding a larger say in content direction and distribution deals. What viewers didn't know was that Rowe had grown exhausted by the physical demands. Years of performing genuinely hazardous work had taken a toll on his 50-year-old body. Broken bones, chemical burns, and countless near-miss accidents weren't just television drama, they were painful reality. Medical bills were piling up and insurance companies were getting nervous about covering such extreme stunts. But the real shocker came later. According to legal documents filed in 2025, Rowe discovered that Discovery had been licensing Dirty Jobs content to streaming platforms and international broadcasters without properly compensating him. The show that made millions for the network had supposedly left its star financially shortchanged. Rowe's initial response was measured and professional. He publicly thanked Discovery for the opportunity and suggested the show had simply achieved its mission of highlighting blue-collar work. But privately, he was already plotting his next move, determined to maintain control over his brand and storytelling. Little did anyone know that this amicable separation would eventually explode into one of Hollywood's most bitter legal disputes. The dirty work was just beginning. In June 2025, Mike Rowe dropped a bombshell that sent shockwaves through Hollywood. He filed a federal lawsuit against Warner Bros. Discovery, alleging the media giant had cheated him out of millions in streaming royalties. The legal documents revealed a shocking pattern of financial manipulation that had been festering for over a decade. The lawsuit centered on a complex web of licensing deals that Discovery struck with platforms like Hulu, DirecTV, and YouTube TV. According to Rowe's attorneys, his original contracts entitled him to 50% of adjusted gross revenues from third-party video-on-demand licensing. But Discovery allegedly found loopholes, classifying these streaming deals as part of their linear television service to avoid paying Rowe his cut. The battle actually began much earlier than most people realized. In 2015, Rowe conducted an audit that uncovered significant payment discrepancies. What followed was a grueling 5-year mediation process that supposedly resolved the disputes. Rowe even signed a new participation agreement in 2020 that was meant to ensure proper compensation for streaming content. But the problems didn't stop. Rowe's legal team discovered that Discovery continued finding creative ways to avoid payments, using technical definitions and corporate restructuring to minimize his share. The lawsuit claimed he was owed substantial sums from deals spanning multiple years and platforms. Discovery fired back with their own statement, claiming they had fulfilled all contractual obligations and disputed Rowe's allegations. They emphasized their long-standing relationship with the host, but legal experts noted the corporate language suggested a nasty fight ahead. The timing wasn't coincidental. As streaming revenues exploded and legacy content became more valuable, Rowe realized he'd been systematically excluded from a goldmine he helped create. The man who once celebrated honest work was now fighting for what he believed was honestly owed. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The Mike Rowe who emerged after Dirty Jobs was dramatically different from the apolitical entertainer audiences remembered. While his show had always celebrated American workers, Rowe began injecting increasingly conservative viewpoints into his public persona, alienating longtime fans and creating unexpected controversies. The transformation became undeniable during the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2021, Rowe posted a lengthy Facebook response about vaccine recommendations that sparked immediate backlash. Critics accused him of spreading misinformation and using his platform irresponsibly. The post revealed a man who had seemingly abandoned his previous careful neutrality for provocative political commentary. Rowe's shift wasn't accidental. His Mike Rowe Works Foundation had been receiving financial support from Charles Koch, the billionaire conservative activist. This funding relationship raised questions about whether Rowe's increasingly right-leaning positions were genuinely held beliefs or financially motivated performances. The backlash was swift and brutal. Liberal critics published scathing analyses of what they called Mike Rowe's dirty lies, accusing him of misrepresenting COVID policy and public health officials. Former fans felt betrayed, claiming the man who once brought Americans together was now deliberately dividing them. Rowe defended himself by claiming he remained an independent, insisting his conservative opinions didn't define his entire worldview. He continued appearing on liberal outlets and maintained that his foundation helped people regardless of political affiliation, but the damage was done. The controversy revealed something deeper about Rowe's evolution. Years of being celebrated as a voice for forgotten workers had apparently convinced him to become their political spokesperson. His appearances on Fox News became more frequent, his social media posts more pointed, and his public statements increasingly aligned with conservative talking points. What started as celebrating honest work had morphed into something far more complicated and divisive. The man who once unified viewers around shared values was now a lightning rod for America's deepest political divisions. Mike Rowe's reputation as America's blue-collar champion began cracking under the weight of his political evolution. Critics started questioning whether his working-class advocacy was genuine or carefully crafted performance designed to advance conservative ideology. The skepticism intensified when journalists began scrutinizing Rowe's actual background. Despite decades of championing manual labor, Rowe himself had never worked these jobs professionally. He was a college-educated performer who learned trades specifically for television. This revelation prompted accusations of being a working-class cosplayer who exploited authentic workers for entertainment value. His comments about minimum wage became particularly controversial. In 2021, Rowe argued that raising minimum wages could compromise the path to skilled trades by making unskilled jobs artificially attractive. Labor advocates erupted, claiming he was undermining workers' rights while pretending to support them. The criticism grew harsher as Rowe's media appearances became more overtly political. His speeches at conservative events and partnerships with right-wing organizations made it impossible to maintain his previous image as a neutral advocate for workers. Former supporters accused him of abandoning his principles for political influence. Social media became a battlefield. Rowe's defenders praised his willingness to challenge liberal orthodoxy and speak uncomfortable truths about work ethic. But detractors launched coordinated campaigns highlighting what they saw as hypocrisy and manipulation. The most damaging accusation came from trade workers themselves. Several union leaders and skilled laborers published open letters claiming Rowe's rhetoric actually harmed their interests by opposing wage increases and supporting anti-labor politicians. Rowe fought back aggressively, using his platform to attack critics and double down on controversial positions. His social media posts became increasingly combative, revealing a man frustrated by challenges to his authority and expertise. The transformation was complete. The beloved everyman who once brought joy to dirty work had become a polarizing figure whose very presence sparked heated debates about authenticity, politics, and the nature of honest labor. Mike Rowe's charitable work, once viewed as purely altruistic, became another source of controversy as critics examined the funding and motivations behind his Mike Rowe Works Foundation. The deeper they dug, the more complicated the picture became. The foundation's mission appeared straightforward, providing work ethic scholarships to students pursuing skilled trades. Over the years, it had helped thousands of people find rewarding careers in welding, plumbing, and electrical work. But investigative journalists discovered that major funding came from Charles Koch, the controversial billionaire known for advancing libertarian causes through strategic philanthropy. This financial relationship raised uncomfortable questions. Was Rowe genuinely interested in helping workers, or was he advancing Koch's anti-union, pro-business agenda? Critics pointed out that the foundation's emphasis on individual responsibility aligned perfectly with conservative talking points about reducing government support for education and worker protections. The scholarship criteria became particularly controversial. Recipients had to demonstrate work ethic and sign pledges agreeing with foundation principles that many viewed as politically charged. Labor advocates argued this created a pipeline of workers trained to oppose collective bargaining and accept lower wages in the name of personal responsibility. Rowe's response to minimum wage debates further inflamed tensions. His foundation consistently promoted skilled trades as alternatives to college degrees, but critics noted he simultaneously opposed wage increases that would make those jobs more financially attractive. The contradiction seemed to benefit employers more than workers. Financial records revealed other concerning patterns. The foundation spent significant amounts on promotional activities and Rowe's media appearances, leading some to question whether it was primarily a scholarship program or a political advocacy operation disguised as charity. Rowe defended his work passionately, insisting politics never influenced scholarship decisions and pointing to success stories of program graduates. But the damage to his reputation was spreading. The man who claimed to champion workers was increasingly seen as a tool of wealthy interests seeking to exploit them. After Dirty Jobs ended, Mike Rowe desperately sought to recapture his television magic, but each attempt seemed to fall shorter than the last. His journey through failed reboots and struggling shows revealed a man unable to recreate the lightning-in-a-bottle success of his signature series. CNN offered Rowe a lifeline in 2014 with Somebody's Gotta Do It, a show designed to showcase passionate individuals pursuing unique endeavors. The concept seemed perfect for Rowe's storytelling abilities, but the show never found its audience. Critics complained it lacked the visceral appeal of watching someone clean pig intestines or collect bat droppings. The series limped through several seasons before quietly disappearing. Discovery Channel attempted multiple reunions, including Dirty Jobs Road Trip in 2020, a nostalgic miniseries that felt more like a desperate attempt to milk past glory than fresh content. The network even brought back the original series briefly in 2022, but the magic was gone. Viewers had moved on, and the show felt outdated in a post-pandemic world where essential workers were celebrated differently. Fox Business became Rowe's next home, with How America Works, a show focusing on infrastructure and essential industries. While the concept aligned with current political discussions, critics noted it felt more like conservative propaganda than entertainment. The show attracted a niche audience but failed to achieve mainstream success. Each failure seemed to push Rowe further into political commentary rather than entertainment. His appearances on news programs became more frequent than his actual shows, suggesting a man who had lost his way as a television personality. The pattern was becoming clear. Mike Rowe's television career had peaked with Dirty Jobs, and everything since was an attempt to recapture something that no longer existed. His evolution from entertainer to political commentator seemed less like a choice, and more like a desperate survival strategy in a changed media landscape. In 2024, Mike Rowe made his boldest move yet, venturing into film with Something to Stand For, a patriotic documentary that many viewed as his last shot at mainstream relevance. The project represented everything that had gone wrong with his career transformation, good intentions wrapped in controversial execution. The film, drawing from his podcast The Way I Heard It, told 9 historical stories designed to celebrate American heroes and values. Rowe positioned it as a non-political antidote to national division, promising inspiring tales without partisan messaging. The concept had potential, capitalizing on his storytelling strengths while avoiding his political baggage. But the execution revealed Rowe's fundamental misunderstanding of his audience and the current cultural moment. Despite claims of being apolitical, the film's marketing and messaging clearly targeted conservative viewers. His promotional appearances on Fox News and partnerships with faith-based distribution networks sent unmistakable signals about the intended audience. The limited theatrical release through Fathom Events suggested modest ambitions, but even those weren't met. While some viewers praised the film's production values and Rowe's narration, others criticized it as sanitized patriotism that ignored America's complex historical realities. Reviews were mixed at best. Supporters appreciated the positive messaging and educational content, particularly praising its family-friendly approach to history. But critics found it preachy and simplistic, arguing that Rowe's version of patriotism felt outdated and exclusionary. The film's financial performance was disappointing. Limited showings and narrow appeal meant it barely registered in popular culture. For a man who once commanded massive television audiences, the quiet reception had to be devastating. Something to Stand For crystallized everything problematic about Rowe's career trajectory. His genuine desire to inspire and educate had been compromised by political positioning and cultural tone deafness. The movie felt like a desperate attempt to reclaim relevance in a world that had moved beyond his particular brand of blue-collar nostalgia. Mike Rowe's journey from beloved television host to polarizing cultural figure represents one of the most dramatic career transformations in recent entertainment history. The man who once united Americans around the dignity of honest work now finds himself at the center of bitter political and cultural divisions. The numbers tell a sobering story. Dirty Jobs at its peak attracted millions of viewers and earned Emmy nominations. Rowe's current projects struggle to find audiences beyond narrow political niches. His social media following remains large, but the engagement reveals a deeply divided fan base more interested in political validation than entertainment. The legal battle with Discovery continues, threatening to expose more uncomfortable details about the business side of his success. Win or lose, The lawsuit has damaged relationships and revealed the bitter feelings that simmer beneath his public persona. Perhaps most tragically, Rowe's original mission celebrating skilled workers and trade jobs has been overshadowed by political controversy. The foundation he built to help people find meaningful careers is now viewed skeptically by many of the workers he claims to champion. His transformation raises difficult questions about celebrity, authenticity, and the price of political engagement. Did Rowe genuinely evolve in his beliefs, or did financial and political pressures corrupt his original message? Was he always this way, simply hiding behind a carefully crafted public image? The man who once crawled through sewers for our entertainment now navigates a different kind of dirty job, rebuilding a reputation that may be beyond repair. His attempts at comeback feel increasingly desperate, each new project weighted down by accumulated controversies. Mike Rowe's story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of mixing entertainment with ideology. The beloved host of Dirty Jobs may be gone forever, replaced by a figure who divides rather than unites. In trying to stand for something, he may have lost everything that once made him special.